I'd like you to do something for me. I'd like you to close your eyes and think about one of your most happy thoughts. Maybe it was um, a holiday that you had. Maybe it was a birthday where everybody showed up. Maybe it was your marriage or your child being born. Maybe it was that Christmas morning when you got your Nintendo that you had been asking your parents for all year long. But I just want you to just take a moment to think of a happy thought. Now I'm going to ask you to do something else. I want you to think about a sad or frustrating thought. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, that's going to be so easy, but go ahead and think about it. Maybe think about something, those bills that are due. Maybe it's, the way that person spoke behind your back, or, a friend did something that you felt betrayed. Maybe it was got passed over at work. But think about that thought. Congratulations, you just demonstrated that you have the ability to do one of the most important things where living the intentional life is concerned, and that is you choosing with intention what you're going to think about. So let's talk about it. Now, why would I say that being able to choose what you think about is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing you could do in order to live the intentional life? I've said in the past, I'm a Christian, I'm somebody who believes the Bible. The Bible says that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Now, I know that everybody who watches this channel may not believe the Bible, may not believe in God, but this is one of those things that I call a universal truth. I don't think you have to believe the Bible to believe this. In fact, there are other religions that teach something very similar. There have been teachers and philosophers throughout the ages. Men throughout the ages have recognized this truth of as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Marcus Aurelius is stated to have believed to have said, our life is what our thoughts make about it. Socrates, but he said that the mind is everything and what you think you become. So this is a universal truth that men have recognized throughout the ages. There's a man named Earl Nightingale, and if you haven't heard of him, I highly recommend you look him up. He's known as the Dean of Personal Development. And years ago, he did a message called The Strangest Secret. And in it, he shared this truth that he actually learned from Napoleon Hill. And the way he said it is the strangest secret, or the thing that he had kind of been looking for all his life, was this truth, and that we become what we think about. Now, this truth, and it is a truth, you can't get away from this. It is a universal truth. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he, or we become what we think about. This is at least one of the foundations of where personal development, where we talk about visualization, when we talk about, quote, manifesting, that's the heart of it. Now, do I believe in manifesting as it's taught by a number of personal development people? That's a very hard question to answer because of the disparity of the different ways people talk about it. I don't like the term because there are some people who talk about manifesting abundance or manifesting wealth, and it's out there, and I don't agree with that. I do believe in faith and prayer. I do believe that if you think to yourself that you're somebody who can't win, that you can never get ahead, that all the odds are stacked against you, that you'll never succeed. If you really think those things about you, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed in life. Not because you're necessarily some weird mystical thing, but the simple fact of the matter is, if that's what you believe, you're not going to have any motivation to take risks or to take action or to get up and do something. Now, where manifesting is concerned, I don't believe you can just sit around on your butt all day and think, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, and, quote, manifest wealth and abundance. No, that stuff takes action. It takes intentional action. But on the other hand, I do believe if you think in your heart that, hey, I can learn whatever I need to learn, I can step out and I can take risks, I have opportunities to grow every day or to make decisions that will increase my likelihood of success. If you believe those things, well, then I believe you will be more open to opportunities as they come. You will be much more motivated to take action when those opportunities come. You're more likely to take risks when you really believe I can understand and I can get through any situation. So I'm not necessarily opposed to this idea, but I really don't like some of the weird mystical things people say about manifesting. But the truth still stands. We become what we think about. Now, let's get just much more simplified than that. If this is a universal truth that we become what we think about, well, then that means if we want to have a happy, joyful, a life of gratitude, a content life, we're going to have to think those type of thoughts. And on the other hand, if we think thoughts that are sad or make us angry or frustrated, then that's what we're going to become. And this is why it's so important where living the intentional life is concerned. The question you have to ask yourself is, how do you want to show up in life? How do you want to face the day? How do you want to face the difficulties of life? See, the one thing I 100% disagree with is this idea that if we just think enough thoughts, life will be perfect and we'll never have any problems. There's always going to be the negative, always. There's always going to be things around you. There will most likely always be things going on in your life that will be the negative. So the question is not, is those things going to happen? The question is, how do you want to face them? How do you want to show up? And if you want to show up confident, if you want to have a happy life, a joyful life, a life full of gratitude for the good that's in your life, then you're going to have to think those thoughts. And we showed at the beginning of this video, it's your choice. You get to choose which thoughts you think. Therefore, you get to choose how you face life and how you show up in life. The Bible says it this way: whatsoever things are true, honest, right, pure, lovely, and good, think those things. Now, I don't think you have to believe the Bible to recognize that's good advice if those are the things you want in your life. You know, if you think the opposite, if you think of all the dishonest things, all the untrue things, all the wrong things, then that's how you're going to show up in life. That's the attitude you're going to face. You know, one of the things, I don't know, maybe I was just ignorant to the things in the past, but it seems to me that more and more people are just angry and frustrated and giving up on life and giving up on, their friends, their families. I mean, it's just so full of negativity. And some people will respond and say, yeah, because there's a lot of frustrating things. There's a lot of angry things. There's always been those things. There's always been something to be frustrated about. There has always been the negative part. But it seems to me more and more people are choosing to think those thoughts, and that's how they're showing up. And the world's just so full of negativity and frustration and anger. And there are reasons to be that way. There are things going on in life that should make you angry. They should make you angry in those things. But I'm talking about a general outlook of life. Is that how you want to show up every day? In my life, I want to be a good example to my wife and my children, and I want to show up and I want to be present and I want them to know I love them and I want them to know I'm there for them. Well, if I want to show up that way, those are the thoughts I have to think. If I sit at work all day long thinking about the promotion I was passed up for and how unfair life is and how I'm not getting paid what I should get paid and how I was mistreated in this area and how this person was playing office politics and spoke behind my back. Now, those things aren't happening at the job I work at, but I'm just saying as an example. If I sit and think about those thoughts for 8 hours a day and then the 30 minutes on my way back home, how am I going to show up to my wife and kids that evening? I'm going to become what I think about. And if all I do is think about frustrating, angry thoughts, then when I walk in the door and my son tries to run up and say, "Daddy," and hug me, I'm not going to be there for him. I'm not going to be present. I'm going to be the thoughts that I was thinking. Now, again, you might say, well, Chris, you don't understand. You don't understand what I'm facing in life. And I don't. I don't know what you're facing in life. But my question to you is, what is the alternative, right? There will always be the negative. There, you can't change that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't look for the ways to help. I'm not saying you shouldn't advocate. I'm not saying you shouldn't say this is wrong and we need to make it right. Okay? I'm not saying that we just give up on all that stuff. I'm not saying we pretend it's not there. But I'm saying even in the negative, instead of just focusing on all that's wrong, why don't we focus on the right? Or how do we make it right? Be solution minded, not problem minded, because you become what you think about. If you all you ever do is think about the problem, you become part of the problem. If you think about the solution, you become part of the solution. But what is the alternative? The alternative is you just show up angry. Your life, you face everything in life from the negative. You basically face the consequences or the situations of life almost already defeated. And if we can, through the things we intentionally choose to think about, we can face the things of life confident, believing that we can overcome, believing that we can get through, believing we can learn what we need to learn to overcome the situations we're in, we will become what we think about. We'll become the person who can overcome, who can get through the situation. You know, when you start talking about these things, there's always going to be people who make excuses. There's always going to be people who say, Chris, that's very easy for you to say. You know, you are the problem. You are a white middle-aged male. That's easy for you to say. There will always be excuses. But the simple fact of the matter is, if nothing changes, then nothing changes. If you don't do something different, then your life is going to continue to be what it is. And we're talking about living the more intentional life. If your life is not what you want it to be, then you're going to have to change what you're currently doing to see changes in your life. Now, there are a lot of things in life you can't change, at least in the immediate future. You know, there's a lot of things in life people don't think they can change that they actually have the power to change, but it might not be immediate. You might not be able to quit your job tomorrow. That might not be an option for you. And you might not like your job, but you have obligations, you have a family, you have children. You can't change, you can't quit your job tomorrow. You might not be able to tomorrow move out of the city you're in. You might not like where you live, but it might not be an option. Now, it might be an option in the future, and part of living the intentional life is taking the steps to get to that place where you can, but there's a lot of things you can't change in the immediate present. But one thing that everybody can change is what they choose to think about. Everybody has that ability. It takes practice. We are surrounded by negativity. I'm not saying this is going to be easy for you, but the question is, am I living the intentional life? You can't say you're living the intentional life without choosing what you think about. You have to have intention. And I don't know about you, but if I'm making a choice of what I'm thinking about, I want to think about the good, the lovely, the pure, the honest. I want to think about the positive things because that's the person I want to be. And we become what we think about. If you like this video, I ask you to give it a like, maybe share it with somebody. Think about subscribing to this channel. But until I see you again, go out and live the more intentional life.